All right. So, first part of the quiz. All right, first part of the quiz says that the harbor master decides how many trips the ferry needs to make for 52 cars. Carolina, I don't have your attention if your time is open. Thank you. The ferry can carry 9 cars at a time. What is the best way to interpret the remainder of 52 divided by 9 so that all cars can cross the harbor? Okay, so I have 52 cars, right?
Yes.
All right, and it can go 9 cars per ferry. Everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Where I got that information. Okay, Dean, eyes on me. Thanks. All right. So I need to divide this. First of all, I need to solve the problem, right? Because it wants to know all cars can cross the harbor. So I need all the cars to cross the harbor. So 9 can go into 52 close to how many times? Najee. 6. 9 times 6. 9 times 6 is what?
54.
Okay, well that's over. So you can't.
9 times 5. 45.
Good. Okay. So 9 times 5 is 45. Then I'm going to do what? Subtract, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Najee, you understand what you did wrong. You can say it to yourself. 12 minus 5 is? 7. Okay, so I'm going to have 7 cars left over, right? It can go 5 times with a full load. And then I'm going to have 7 cars left over. Okay, so what am I going to do with this remainder? Can I have 7 cars left over? No, because the problem tells me that all cars. So what am I going to do?
Add 1 to the
I'm going to add 1 to the 5, right? Because these are the trips. So I'm going to take my number, and then I'm going to add 1. And so how many trips does the ferry need to make?
6.
Okay, so your answer then would be, I'm going to increase the answer by what?
1.
1. That's how you're going to interpret the remainder. Yes.
I said it wrong. I had it right, but said it wrong.
Okay. That's fine, as long as you know. I don't really care. All right. So that's how you're going to interpret the remainder. Now, if Miss Fernley said, like if I had loaves of bread, right? And I said, how many loaves of bread are going to be at each table? Mrs. Fernley brought a bunch of loaves of bread in, and let's say I brought 5 loaves of bread, and I have 4 tables, right? So I got to divide that. So I'm going to have 1 and 1/5, right? So if I had 5 loaves of bread, and I need to divide them between your guys' 4 tables, it can only go in once, right? Okay, so my remainder is 1. How would I interpret that remainder?
You would just
I just said there's 4 tables, 5 loaves of bread.
You will increase the answer by 1.
No, because I still am not going to have enough to go across.
No, minus the answer by 1.
I don't have to minus anything. I can have a what?
1/4.
I can have a fraction. Heather, you were having problems with this, but you're not paying attention to me. Okay, so you really have to study what the question is asking you. If it's asking you that all the cars, that means you're going to need to increase it by
1.
1. If you have something that can be divided up, such as bread or cheese or fabric or whatever, then you're going to use a fraction. That's how you interpret the remainder. Yeah. Ignore this because this is a different.
When you do the adding for like the things that you can split in half, you do like
The quotient, always. You're always going to increase that.
but then you have to add. Oh wait, no, you put.
Okay, Heather, if I asked you to carry something from my room to Mrs. Gata's room, and you only had 2 hands, right? And I had a bunch of things to handle. You can only carry 2 things at a time, right? Let's say I had 7 things that I need you to carry over to Mrs. Gata's room. How many times could you go over there? You go over there once, that's 2, right? You go over there twice, that's 4. You go over 3 times, and that's 6. And I still have 1 over here. Would you make another trip, or would you leave it here? I need all the things over there. Even though it's not a full 2 hands, right? That's the same thing.
I had 8.
Correct. With the quotient, whatever the answer is. With her. Correct. Yes. So if this was something I could divide up, it would be 5 trips and 7 ninths trips. But you can't do that, right? You can't have part of a trip. I can't ask you to go part of the way to Mrs. Skater's room, right? It's either all the way or no way, right? So I can't have part of a trip. So then I got to add 1 to this. Does that make sense? If you can't have part of something, it's either got to be all or nothing, then you can never do a fraction with it.
Okay. I get it now. I get it.
Okay? So but if you can put something into half, like if I have a sandwich and I can break it into half and give it to you, then you can do a fraction, right? Because then I'm getting half and you're getting half.
So if you 1 half.
Or if I have 3 sandwiches, I get 1, she gets 1, and then we have 1. So we each get 1 and a half. So if you can break it into pieces, you can get a fraction. If you cannot break a trip into pieces or a ferry into pieces, then you cannot use a fraction with it. Does that make sense a little bit more?
All that is it's kind of like how you can't break a person into pieces.
Can't break a person into pieces. That's correct. All right.
That's illegal.
Number 2. David makes 87 greeting cards.
Which one?
Yes, Alexis. Not right now. David makes 87 greeting cards for a craft fair. He sells the cards in packs of 5. How many full packs of greeting cards does David make? Okay? I need to know how many full packs. This is full, right? All right. 5 goes into 8 how many times?
1.
Hey. 5 times 1 is?
5.
8 minus 5 is?
3.
And then I'm going to do what?
7.
Bring down the 7. Okay, 5 goes into 37, Heather. What method do you have? That's how you divide. There is no other way of dividing. Okay, you need to explain that a little bit more clear to me. I don't understand.
Well, like, I don't get how you did the 5 divided by 8, and you just took that.
Well, because how many times can 5 go into 8? If this was a 4, could I do that? No, because I can't. If I have 4, I can't do groups of 5, right? Okay, but if I have 8, I can do a group of 5, right? How many groups of 5? 1. Okay. Now it's 5 times 1. This is how you divide. There is no other way of dividing. And then you go 5 times 1. That's why we have the divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and remainder. So you divide, you multiply, you subtract, you bring that down. And now I got to divide this. 5 goes into 37 how many times? 5 times 8 is 40, so that's too high. 7 times, okay? And then 5 times 7 is? You guys should be writing this on your quiz. 7 minus 5 is?
3.
2. So I have a remainder of 2. So how many full bags does he have?
We'll have to have 17 full bags, but he has 2 more, so 17 only. 18 is 2 more bags. 17.
Okay, raise your hand if you believe it's 17. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you believe it's 18. Okay. It doesn't say that you have to have all of these greeting cards in bags. It says how many full bags can he make out of 87 greeting cards? How many full bags can he make out of 87 greeting cards?
17.
17. Because this isn't a full bag, right?
That's the remainder.
Okay, so 17 is the answer. That's what I'm saying. It's how the word problem is worded to figure out what you do with the remainder. Sometimes you ignore it. Sometimes it adds on a 1. Sometimes you have to use it as a fraction. You have to know what the wording is. Okay? Then you need to be familiar with the wording. So that means look at your homework, look at your quizzes, look at your review tests when we do your review tests. It's called what? Somebody help me with this. Starts with a P. Practicing. Everybody say it.
Practicing.
Okay. If you don't know how to play softball or baseball, how are you going to learn how to play?
Practicing.
Do you know how to play the guitar?
No.
How are you learning how to play? Practicing. Do you expect to get any good at the guitar if you don't practice? So how do you expect to be good at math if you don't practice?
I'm not going to get good at volleyball if I don't practice.
Miss Fernley's good, but I'm not that good. I can't just stand up here and teach you and say, okay, now you get it, because that's not happening, is it? I'm teaching you for almost an hour and a half every single day, and you guys still are not understanding it. So you have to go home and practice.
Miss Farley's practicing being a better teacher too.
Exactly. I practice being a better teacher every day. A kennel is moving 100. This one's hard. I highly suggest you take notes on this. A kennel is moving 136 dogs to a new facility. Each dog has its own crate. The facility manager rents 12 trucks. Each truck holds 11 dogs in their crate. Okay? Crazy. All right. So we have how many dogs? What's our big number? That's an easy one to figure out. What's our big number goes inside the house? Alexis. Good. So we know 136 is at least going to go inside of our house. All right. Now we got to figure out if it's 11 or 12 that we multiply or that we divide by. 11 or 12. Raise your hand if you believe that we should divide by 12 trucks or 11 dogs. 12 trucks. Raise your hand. All right, 11 dogs. All right. Okay. So, if I want to know how many trucks, okay, because look at the part A. It says, write a division problem that can be used to find the number of trucks needed to carry the dogs in their crates. Okay. So, I need to know, first of all, how many dogs can fit in a truck, which is 11. Okay, then I can figure out how many trucks I need to transport 136. So what am I going to divide by? The amount of dogs, right? Okay, so, which was probably not a good idea to do because you guys don't know double-digit multiplication or division. So that is my fault.
I know it.
I probably got it wrong.
I know.
All right. Let's I'll walk you through it. Okay. On your test, it's a single digit, so I apologize. So let's change these numbers.
We're gonna get even more confused.
Stop talking. Okay. Let's change these numbers. Let's say 9 trucks and 8 dogs. Okay. 9 trucks and 8 dogs. So now we're going to divide by the number of dogs, which is what? How many? I changed it. 8. Okay, so let's try that. 8 can go into 1 how many times? 0. 0. Can't do it. So I'm going to go next door, right?
Yes.
Heather? I can't divide 8 by 1, right? If I have 1, can I make a group of 8? No, so I'm going to go next door. So now I have 13. How many times can 8 go into 13? Ivan, 1 time. Good. Now I'm going to do what? Multiply. 8 times 1 is? Good. 13 minus 8 is 5. Okay, and then bring down my 6. Now, oops.
Now I know. Now I remember how to do this because I forgot my division.
Okay, 8 can go into 56. Is that an even number?
No.
It is an even number.
Yeah, 7. 8 times 7 is 56.
Dang it. Alright. Okay.
There's no remainder then.
I certainly messed up this whole entire quiz for you.
Alright. Okay, we get all of the answers. We get all, and does it not count? Yeah, number 3.
I'm not counting this.
Number 3 is correct. Number 3, all number 3 is correct.
Okay, so wait.
Cross off number 3. 100%.
This is all on recording, you know that? Okay, so how many trucks are needed to carry the dogs? 17 trucks are needed. Okay, if there were a remainder, let's say this was 57. Okay, let's pretend for a minute that this was 57 and there was one remainder. How would I interpret that remainder? What does it mean? What does that remainder mean? What does that remainder tell me? Levi. Not add it. No. Levi. Najee, sorry. Okay, there's an extra what? There's a poor little puppy that's all by himself.
Yay! Everybody come get it.
Leave my dog alone. Alright, so there's a poor little puppy all by itself. Okay, so that tells me, that's how I answer this question. How does the remainder mean in the context of the problem? There is a poor puppy all by itself.
But he's sad.
Please put 10 seconds on the board, please. Alright, and then how can you use your answer to determine if the facility manager rented enough trucks? Did he rent enough trucks?
No.
Did he rent enough trucks?
No.
Why?
Because
Because there's a puppy left all by itself, so he did not rent enough trucks.